Hi, everybody. We're live. We are live for our first online meetup, and we're about to kick off the talks. We'll wait until 6 p.m. as per the agenda that we originally published. So for now, stay calm, engage with the community on YouTube. YouTube is where we'll do Q&A as well. And yeah, and you're going to hear from two amazing speakers at 6 p.m. About the future of product management and metrics dashboards. So grab a glass of wine, and we'll chat to you then. Hi, folks. We are kicking off in a few minutes, about 5 minutes. Not much longer to wait. Just make yourself comfortable. Alrighty, welcome everybody to our slightly unconventional product tank. It's the first one of the year, and we had to change the format slightly. But I'm glad that wow, over 50 people are with us. So so let's get started. How do I do the slides here? There we go. I'll cut this out of the video later on of the recording. All right, so welcome to ProductTank. I'm Benjamin Wirtz. At the moment, I'm a happily unemployed product leader. In my past, I've worked with companies like Atlassian, Google, and most recently Blue Chili, which, funny enough, are currently running accelerators in the education tech space and in the health tech space in Asia. So what a space to be in for this company. Yeah, so ProductTank is, if you haven't been, is essentially a series of really practical talks from product managers for product managers. And our theme last year was leadership, because as product managers, while we might not have anyone report to us, we are leaders in the companies that we work in. And the theme for this year is kicking off with the future of product management. We're going to focus on data in all sorts of forms and shapes, qualitative, quantitative, data about our products, data about product managers. And I think we're going to have a few really interesting talks. So with that, I would like to thank Optimizely, who've been a fantastic supporter of ours last year, and without who we wouldn't be here today. Optimizely has done a lot for us in terms of helping us actually put these events online, involve as many people as possible, and help us stream this thing. So Optimizely, if you don't know it, it's an A/B testing and feature flagging solution. And hey, what a time to reevaluate some of the assumptions that you have made about products in the pre-coronavirus world and test them properly again in the coronavirus world. So fantastic, very timely tool. And so now would be usually the time at which I would, if this was an in-person event, introduce you to where the toilets are and where the fire exits are. So all I can do at the moment is ask you to familiarize yourself with your surroundings and make sure you know where the toilets are. Make sure you still have toilet paper. If not, let us know with a shit emoji on the YouTube stream. I don't know. We'll keep it to yourself, and get comfortable. We're gonna kick off the talks now. The first speaker is gonna be Mandar from Thiga, who is a product consultant and has worked with many really awesome organizations, and has a fantastic reputation actually in the ecosystem. He's worked with Zip, Secure Code Warrior, and a bunch of other companies. I'll let him introduce himself because I couldn't do it justice, and we will kick things off. And then the second talk is going to be with him from Art Group, who is currently working with Qantas. So what a time to be alive and see all the changes in the world. But first of all, we're going to hand it over to Mandar. Mandar, welcome.
Hi everyone, how's it going? Thank you for that awesome introduction. I was cracking up with the analogies. Can everyone see my screen? Just checking. Yeah, there we go. So let me just quickly get set up. Awesome. Just write in your comments if you can't see me clearly, if I'm dropping out, or I'm talking too fast as I tend to do. But thank you very much for joining me here today. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, Ben, for the opportunity as well. It's look, we're all in kind of some testing times at the moment. I hope you're comfortable at home. I hope yourself and your loved ones are safe and sound, and wish you health in the near future with whatever there is to come. So really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for listening to me, hopefully with a beer and a wine and whatever else you might have. So I'll kick things off here. Okay, you can start to see the slides. I am going to be talking to you about the future of product management. And as I do, I really want to sort of impose my own experiences, insights and learnings. This is extremely subjective. It's a very broad topic, and I hope I'll do it justice. Maybe give you a bit of entertainment at least from home, as I am. And it's open to discussion. Absolutely, reach out, add it in the comments. But I'll start with, before we head to the future, I'll start with a little bit about the past, and why I've always, why I've loved to grow product management, and why I love it today. And really that it kind of is ingrained and defined in where I started about 10 years ago. As you can see, it's literally a shopping list of stuff. I've on purpose try to change my roles, try something new, keep myself out of the comfort zone, in order to grow and learn, as they say. And as I did that, I also tried to move to different industries. As I eventually got into product management, as you can see, I then eventually fell into consultancy, which is literally, it says all. We kind of have to be diverse enough and adaptable enough to take on our own core skill sets, our learnings, and apply them to anywhere we go. And that is also not just for consultancy. I think that's where the future is heading. The whole cross-skilling, upskilling, and diversifying between domains and industries. But I'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. I think a key thing here in this slide, customer service rep, and I get it with the whole technical background, and this, everyone says what a good product manager looks like, or what you should or should not have, whether it's a tech background. But I think regardless of that, my first love for product started with probably one of my worst roles. It was a graveyard shift at IBM as a customer service rep. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I had, irate Lotus Notes customers shouting at me on their sync issues. It was absolutely terrible, but I understood empathy. That's where I first learned to put myself in the shoes of my customers, and to understand what building better products and better experiences meant. And sure enough, I landed in product management, and this is the one of the key things I hold true today, which is the ability to empathize with customers. And I'll talk about that a lot throughout this presentation as well. So that's just a little bit about me. And again, the title is pretty broad. It's pretty generic as well. The future of product management. Yeah, you could have come here listening to this talk. We may see a lot of people drop off if I'm not going to talk about machines and robotics and all sorts of really cool tech. I'm not. I'm sorry to say. I'm going to be talking about product management best practices. Where were we before? What are we doing right now? And how it's going to improve in the future. And it is definitely going to improve, which is a bit of positive news in kind of the current time. But I will call out machine learning, artificial intelligence. It's you can't talk about the future of product without talking about that. It's here today. It's going to be predominant tomorrow. So I have to have a special call out. There is a slide for that. But the rest of it, I really see as solutions. Whether you're building products, you're building features, you're building entire companies, wearable tech, a watch, or any other platform, any other means is simply a solution to enable you to solve a problem, a want or a need for your customers. So I see those. I see product management as the practice of finding and solving problems. So I won't be talking about tech. Tech changes so often, so rapidly, that by the time I finish this presentation, it'll be irrelevant what I said. And that's why it's just going to be about product practices. Where were we before? I'll touch on that a little bit. Everyone knows this. Like, we're all, I assume, because we're not in person, I can't get you to put your hands up and really sort of organize my talk around my audience. But I'll assume that we're all in and around product, or at least have experience of it. And where are we now? This is something that you should be experiencing today. And where to from here? This is something that it's not like you guys don't know about it at all. This is not sort of revolutionary to everybody. Some of the more mature companies, more mature product organizations will absolutely be practicing these things today, and that's great. That's a good place to be if these points relate to you as this is today. But for a lot of us, this will be the future. And if you don't kind of keep up to these points, again, subjective, there'll be a lot of disclaimers throughout this, just because it's very much on personal experience. But you might want to kind of visit or look at these areas. To quote Jim Collins, it's very positive. We're going from good to great. It's not like we're in a bad place at the moment. Actually, we're going from good to great to awesome. There are a lot of signs today that show that product management is in demand. Salaries are on the rise. We get to spend so much time with various areas of the business. We get to strategize. We get to solve customer problems. We get to work. We get to be creative with our designers, and we get to make lots of money for the company. I mean, what other role could get you to do all of those things. And it's incredibly challenging. I totally admit that. You're never comfortable in product management, but that's the beauty of it, because you get to learn. You always learn something new. The future is looking good. So let me just quickly recap. I mean, I really had to cut down these slides. I often tend to go over. That's why I try and talk quickly as well. But I just kind of found three or four categories. There's a couple on the next slide as well. But strategy, roadmap, recruitment, things that stuck out to me as to how things really got better as to where we are today. And thank God they did. Because yesterday, when we look at it, when you do a quick recap, product visions closed in a closed circuit, in a room, business plans, it was all about dictating from the top down as to what we will be doing and how we're doing it on time, on budget, and so on and so forth. Today, we get to go out of the building. It's about customer centricity. It's about understanding and our customers, and it really means creating a list of things, features, backlogs, whatever you want to call it, to address address the vision that we set out for ourselves that aligns to our business. Tomorrow, things only get better, and this is again, this talk will probably be full of controversial points, things that are just in my opinion and subjective. Again, disclaimer, but user researchers will be replaced by product strategists. I mean, yeah, look, at the moment, that's kind of, it feels a bit waterfall, in that bit of a handover process, just that part. You go out, you talk to customers, you get a whole bunch of learnings, you synthesize those, you put them somewhere, and then somebody else creates a backlog or a roadmap or something, or a list of initiatives to achieve outcomes from that. Why can't that be the same person? Again, just like I'll talk about other roles sort of converging, this is one thing that you'll start to see in strategy of the future. Roadmaps, when we talk about roadmaps, project plans, roadmaps today, whether that's feature or outcome roadmaps, but still roadmaps, right? Tomorrow, and Marty Kagan talks about this, is a real advocate of this as well. OKRs and experiments, just move fast, do as much as you possibly can to set out the objective, the outcomes, and that you've set out for yourselves, whether it's a quarter or a period of time that you've defined. But the work never ends, right? It's all about learning, iterating, pivoting, stopping if you think you're heading in the wrong direction, and it's just incredibly flexible, a lot more than today. Roadmaps still feel very linear. Recruitment, and I'm glad this is, I got into product in and around product or product management when this wasn't so good, so I kind of got through the pains, but today it's a lot better. Back then you needed real subject matter expertise. There was very little focus on culture fit and adaptability and the diversification of skills. Today, tomorrow, and in some cases today as well, emotional and rational intelligence. I'll speak about that a bit later on as well. But the ability to recognize in a person their soft skills, their ability to show empathy to others, their colleagues and their customers, is vital. But not just that, not just the feelings. It's about understanding the why, the root cause. Having data, like obsessive data, is also important to back that up. And then those are just two things. Product management is actually going to be incredible. One bad thing, product management is going to become a lot harder to get into. It's going to be structured in its ways on how to get into it and how to upskill, but it's going to be harder to prove that you're a good product manager and that you should be hired, just because of the recognition of all the things that we need to do and can do. And so again, in terms of two more points here, perception of failure, we've seen this, do or die, on time, on budget. The first time you test it is when you run out of cash. And then, with agility, with the understanding of fail fast and fail often, this is great. This is now starting to be experimentation, and lean has now been adopted more so than ever before. And the principles around build, measure, learn have had a huge effect on the speed at which we ship products. But tomorrow it's going to be exciting, I believe, because we won't be allowed to fail. We won't. The platforms and the products and the tools of tomorrow will, whether you talk about machine learning, artificial intelligence, or anything else, platforms, tools will learn for us. There'll be predictive models. They will be, showing us what works and what doesn't work. So if you're experimenting today and you're kind of experimenting blind, I honestly believe whether a platform exists today or not, I'm not particularly sure. That has really gone deep into that domain. But tomorrow we won't be allowed to fail as often, and we won't. And then culture really is about, the silos of the past have now been broken down into collaborative feature teams. But tomorrow, things will change. All companies will recognize that product centricity equally as customer centricity is important. But it's more rather than just the product teams itself, but the entire organization around product. Sales enables product, marketing enables product, and not the other way around. And this is a huge shift, and I'll tell you why and how the role of CPO sort of enables that and to happen in a second as well. Skills in demand as well. So if you're listening today and you're in product management or you're about to get into it, this is the absolute golden era. You should be excited. Doing a little bit of research just before in order to build this presentation, I was having a look at, I came across this incredible wall of text. The World Economic Forum does not do things in light reports. There is a 170-page report of the future of jobs. And really, if you break it down and you look at the key skills, this doesn't really talk about a particular role, right? So this is incredibly important. If you look at all those terms there, what role of today, what role does that relate to the most? When you're talking about originality, creative thinking, attention to detail, resilience, leadership, analytical thinking, this is product management skills that we possess today, and that's great because these are outlined by World Economic Forum for the key skills, the dominant skills that we required for tomorrow. So if you're practicing them today and you're in product management, guess what you're going to be? You're going to be well versed and ready to go at leadership positions for the future. For anybody playing catch up, this will be these key skills will be what they're targeting. Again, that's again in another section of that report. It really just highlights the cognitive. And the cognitive abilities, problem thinking, and the process skills, they're very important. These are growing trends in importance and in demand, which is good for us. It shows that we're relevant at what we do today, and it's only going to get better. There's also did a very quick search on Google Trends as you do. It's increasing gradually. There's a steady increase in the interest of product management. If you do search for anything else in and around product management, it's also gradually increasing. That's a great sign. 2,500 jobs in Australia on LinkedIn is also positive. 800 just listed and relisted in the last month. So even in times of turmoil, these roles are recognized as key cornerstones of any organization, which is awesome. There's if you're doing doing a broader search on LinkedIn, which I spend way too much time on, there's also a lot more information that you can see. 250,000 jobs worldwide, but the most important part of that is that there's jobs in every level, from associates, juniors, interns, to the highest, to the executives. And most importantly, they're not just in IT or in software. Product management is being recognized in every industry, in every sector, whether it's about prioritization, empathy, listening, design thinking, delivery, and agility, and whatever it might be. These core skills apply to media, to finance, to manufacturing, and that's awesome. That just means that we'll have plenty of opportunity in the future. So now, just do a quick check of time. Yep. Okay. Gotta really ramp up. 10 points. So 10 points on product management. It is not just a survival of the fittest, but survival of the quickest. Now, I truly believe this. the product management today doesn't allow, you can't afford to be slow in this time. There's tools, there's platforms that enable us to go really quickly from talking to our customers, understanding their problems, writing our hypotheses, getting out experiments, and proving value in such a speed that is incredible. It's a really good time to be in product management, in design, doing experimentation, and it's only going to get better. In terms of the mantras of yesterday, they still apply today. They'll especially apply tomorrow. Build fast, release early, and stay lean, whether you're startup or enterprise. But I love this quote by Andy Grove, and really, I know it seems like I talk about this in quite a panic mode, like, you must hustle, there's no time to just relax. But it is true. I see it from personal experience. I see it from trends. I see it from the companies that are the most successful, and then outrun their competition. And it's the ones that are the fastest, efficient companies, the ones that have automated, autonomous product teams that really rally together for a common cause. And those are the teams that succeed. But complacency comes about through resting on your laurels, just to through success. If you rest on your success, you will become complacent. Only the paranoid survive. That's very harsh, strong words, but absolutely true. You must always, as a good product manager and a product manager of the future, is to take on that holistic view. Always step back. Always understand where your market's going, how the economy's changing, where the trends and the emerging tech is taking you. What are your threats? How can those turn into opportunities? And it's really get yourself out of that build trap if you're in it today, because tomorrow will be very strategic for product managers. Tomorrow will be holistic, and I will talk about the CPO role, and that's why key leadership roles in the C-suite are required, because we're all upping our game as we head into the future in terms of going and leaning towards strategy rather than where we came from, which was delivery. Everyone's aware, everyone's familiar. You've seen this a million times. It's the product life cycle. Your products will, not your company, your products will see decline. It's a matter of fact. It's destined to, as you launch, whether it's sales or it's growth, to go from introduction to growth, maturity, and eventual decline. Now, when we talk about obsessions and hustling, we're talking about this area. Really, it's how to really stay relevant, how to adapt and change, and learning regardless of whether you're trying to reach whether you're trying to reach a problem fit or market fit, and you're going through MVP, or you're trying to actually scale. Learning is the absolute key, and you must learn in order to to get on that inflection and stay alive. There's huge case studies of really solid, successful companies that have managed to stay alive through the times by adapting, learning, and staying true. Netflix is a really good example, from DVDs to 4K, and I guarantee you in the future to again move, they'll get into VR, and you'll see VR options and other things. But yeah, it's about moving and staying relevant. My point too is about products. So the rise of the CPO. This is again, it's almost necessarily. It will naturally happen as product managers are now required to be strategic more than ever. There is still a missing link between business strategy and product strategy, and this is where the commercials, the revenue, the cost. Often product managers either aren't trusted, empowered, or have the means. And then you've gone to an organization where you've got leaderships, lead product managers, head of products, and you need a representation. I believe the future, more so than ever, CPOs will be absolutely relevant. the jack of all trades and the master of all. CPOs will be required to understand all domains: design, tech, growth, marketing, analytics, have the greatest soft skills, but really be able to communicate and to the C-suite as to how their product teams that they're responsible for are delivering on the strategy that has been set out collectively. And that's very, very much key as to why this role will be relevant tomorrow. 1,200 jobs at the moment, it doesn't seem much, but that will continue to grow. Gandalf says, "You shall not pass up," and he said that about the product career framework. Seems odd, but it's true. It's harsh. It's about a real problem amongst product managers today as well. You hear a lot of talks about, I don't know how I got into product management. I kind of fell into it. It was a bit of a mistake. I got lucky, and you hear that a lot. The future will bring structure to those that need it, to those that strive for it the most, and product management will have this structure. How do I get into product management? How do I succeed? How do I do the best I possibly can to level up, skill up? And there are plenty of frameworks, right? And I'll show you the whole thing. But Thiga has done their own, and we've called out something quite, I guess, I don't know, controversially, maybe another point. But there is no product owner here. Associate product manager. I know there's not much in a title, right? Titles don't matter. People say that, I guess, but in this case, titles do matter. Product ownership, a role defined by Scrum, as one of 3 roles, really is quite limiting. Inward delivery, a backlog, administration. I mean, these are not nice words. If you're a product owner, I do apologize, but I'm just saying what you're doing is incredibly important, but it is the core skill set that you need as a product manager. You cannot be a product manager or get into product management if you don't understand the fundamentals of how to deliver your product to market. That's why you're building on the basic concepts of something that's incredibly important, that has a way higher ceiling than a really, really good product manager, product owner. So where can you go with a change of title of associate product manager? Well, you can get to chief product officer by cross-skilling and upskilling, in those concentric circles. And really, I think that it makes sense, right? It shows associate product managers have a focus on delivery, but have the opportunity to be curious and to learn about tech, why, security and scalability, or design principles, or understand about metrics that matter. Really build on their soft skills, for example, and that provides a platform for those that you've hired to stay within the company and grow with the company. Money matters, but so does experience and opportunity, and this enables that, right? So as an associate product manager, to really, it's about cross-skilling, and hopefully as you get to head of product, it's the first time it becomes less operational and more about people management, where you have reporting lines and then so on and so forth. But I hope I'd love to talk to anybody after this, get in detail how this works, where we've seen it applied, and it's just it's awesome. It's hard enough to hire product managers today. It's incredibly hard. Why not hire at the lowest levels of product management, an associate product manager, and really help them grow, mold them into your CPOs of tomorrow. But in saying that, right, that was a little aggressive. It was like, yeah, you must do this, all 9 domains, you must master them, all concentric circles filled. It doesn't necessarily have to be that cookie cutter. I love this concept. I think Simon Sinek has it on his website. He's talked about it before as well. It's wabi sabi is a design concept. It's the beauty of the temporary, or in imperfection. Not everybody's the same. If we were exactly the same product managers with the same skills, we'll build the same products and solve the same problems. That we complement each other in our weaknesses and our strengths, and that's the beauty of difference, I guess, and that's why it's important. So don't worry, you don't have to be a jack of all trades. In fact, that's just a snapshot of the framework. You can actually go down specific paths, and I'll talk about a little bit about that later on as well. So and in terms of sorry, my next point, the future will have will actually allow us, will ask of us to be emotionally intelligent and rational. So I've talked about this a little bit, so I won't go into too much detail, but we do this every single day. We do this in talking to our customers, in building out initiatives for our outcomes. We do this talking to our own colleagues, having the soft skills and empathy, having a real care for the why is incredibly important. And really, studies have showed, there's been plenty of studies shown that human engineering or EQ or emotional intelligence is critical to success. Point 5, product management and user experience will combine into one. Now, again, don't freak out. Doesn't mean that product manager roles will disappear and user experience roles will disappear and you'll just be called product experience specialists or whatever it might be. It's more of an understanding and appreciation that today our counterparts, our chalk and cheese, is really sorry, our counterparts in design really enable us to do exactly what we need, enable us to be great product managers, and we do the same for design. It is natural that we show interest and appreciation and the want to skill up on design and vice versa. And the training of the today and the training of the future, I'll talk about it a little bit as well, will enable us to do that. As we do and we skill up on that, it's natural to understand how to talk to customers and then go and address your strategy and get into deliverables, whether it be features or whatever it might be. And so those two roles and having the experience of both design and product will make you valuable over someone that doesn't in the future. It's shown today as well. We if you're not familiar with Goobs and Gemba walks, get out of the building. Design. I believe design concept. Even though product managers absolutely should get out of the building and talk to customers. Often UX are the ones that to lead. Getting out, talking to customers, interviewing them, synthesizing their findings, working with their product managers. But product managers also, and if you don't do this today, and I'm saying this will absolutely be required in the future, should be walking the factory floor, which is a Toyota analogy in manufacturing. Gemba walks walk the floor, find the weaknesses, understand your processes and your strengths, and focus on those in order to improve. Today, when we release products or features, or we hit initiatives as product managers, we don't we don't say a product is functions well and it has great user experience, but it's added 1,000 calls and it's lost us a bit of money. That's not a product. That's not a successful product. It is the holistic experience, both internally and externally, that matters for product and design, and the care for that is what binds this into product experience. Let me just see what I'm doing for time. Okay, I won't be long. We're on the home stretch. Training and certification. So just to call out here really is, I believe this will change. I think this will change significantly. There's plenty of organizations that do training today. We do it ourselves at Thiga, but really we're trying to focus on doing it a little bit differently as well. Steve Blank famously said, no business plan survives its first contact with a customer. I believe the same with training and certification. No training survives its first contact with reality. Often you kind of learn a lot and you just go, now what, right? So extended periods of training in the future will absolutely be predominant. Even you'll see a huge rise in degrees. 3 years. 3 years doesn't seem long enough actually to learn 9 different domains of product growth, marketing, measures and metrics and data. In itself, they're degrees, right? So length of period of training will be absolutely critical in the future to really have the product managers immerse themselves in the practical aspects of product and feel the experiences of that. You're a wizard, Harry. Experimentation is at scale. A lot of you like, yeah, do this today. Absolutely. Which is great. That's awesome. You're in a company that enables you to do that, and you acknowledge that experimentation is key. It'll be here today. It'll be everywhere tomorrow. We talked about lean. We talked about moving fast. We talked about the platforms. You know, there's incredible platforms. Thank you, Optimizely, for sponsoring the talk today. Absolutely one of my favorite platforms. But you know, there's others as well, and it's a great time to be, again, in product management, because you can leverage some of those in order to ship and validate your hypothesis very, very quickly. This will also give rise to, I believe, in the future, a lot more than today, to growth product managers. Growth product managers, if you look at the kind of the structure of product management that I showed you, it is okay not to be a jack of all trades. If there is anything in here particularly that you relate to, or you do incredibly well, like you can be a product marketing manager, or a technical product manager, or a data specialist, or a product growth manager. And in saying that, I think these skills will be incredibly important with experimentation, and this role will rise because of conversion rate optimization, because of companies who are really honing into increasing conversions on acquisition and engagement, and I think that will just come into light naturally going forward. The machines are here. They're here. They're amongst us. Don't freak out, Skynet. Machine learning and artificial intelligence is something I said I would talk about. It has to be talked about. It'll be in absolutely everything tomorrow, if it isn't already today. You send in your emails and your predictive texts and your predictive emails as well, and your junk mail filters, customer support when times are in times of high volume. There's so many platforms and tools today that help us behind the scenes without even knowing it, and it's fantastic. So in us being product managers of the future, this will certainly be a thing that we'll have to consider in everything we do, because there'll be the technology that enables us to do that, and by not considering it means that you just won't be keeping up to those that do. And really, artificial intelligence and machine learning, sometimes used in the same sentence, but machine learning is a means to get to, or a method of artificial intelligence. The one thing I don't think we've cracked, or I don't know enough on it really, is machine intelligence. But that's Skynet. Today's landscape, it's full of startups, new companies that have seen growth, top 100. There's a ton of emerging companies that just simply focus on the benefits of machine learning and artificial intelligence. My point 9, and we are very close to the end, is hope is not a strategy. I mentioned strategy quite a lot. I just think that it's going to be prevalent in every conversation and very critical to the product management role of the future. And really, when I say that, it is now becoming the responsibility, more so than ever, to tie in business objectives to product objectives and have a clear strategy on execution. Yeah, you see, and I didn't want to include concentric circles in my presentations, but I had to this one. Vision, strategy, and execution, we absolutely sit in the middle. Some of us really are more about vision and execution today, but really putting that strategy piece in play will mean that what the future looks like tomorrow is everything we do, every product, every feature will really tie back, have a path to, an attribution to the strategic aspiration. Take a step back holistically and understand where it is you're going, or reevaluate often. Some of the best product managers do this. They take steps back. They don't get down into the dirt, into the build trap. They always step back and reassess. So strategic aspiration will tie into objectives and key results, as we know today, and they'll be dominating tomorrow. OKRs will absolutely be the way, and then the initiatives and experiments in order to how to achieve your key results. But really, this is something you all know. Just calling it out that it'll be second nature in the future. And finally, it was never addressed. I absolutely love this quote. We saw There's a lot of on social media recently about empowering women and workplace and equality, and International Women's Day really brought that to light, and it was awesome. And I saw a ton of memes, but this was my favorite. It was never a dress. It was a cape. Heroes walk amongst us, and I truly do believe that I'm going to call it again another thing that could or could not be controversial. There's data to certainly back it, but women do make better product managers, and in fact, women make better product leaders. And I'll tell you a little bit about why. There's a ton of reports, but there's one recently done by McKinsey. There's 9 different leadership behaviors, and women have been researched to have 5 of those extremely relevant to product management and product leadership, with decision making, inspiration, and being role models, setting expectations, and the hardest, people development, the hardest. And if you can get better, if you're better at that, you're just going to be better at product. I can get into a ton of other things as to why, but look, I'll leave it there. I'll go to this quote by Barack Obama: "If more women were put in charge, there would be less war, kids would be better taken care of, and there would be a general improvement in living standards and outcomes." That's huge. It's strong from such a public-facing leader to be really poignant like that. I love it. It is absolutely true. He's spot on. But how does that apply? That applies to absolutely everything. But how does that apply to product? And it does. So I kind of edited it. If more women were put in charge, there would be less conflict internally within our teams and within other teams in and around the product ecosystem. Customers would be better taken care of, empathy, understanding of their pains, and there would be a significant improvement in product and design qualities and standards, and measured outcomes. I believe this is true. I think we should all, positively make a change. Really think about hiring women in product and hiring women at leadership roles. There's, I don't want to, just dictate it to you, but go and see the statistics, and really you'll see improvement in your organization. Thank you very much for listening to me. I tried to talk as fast as I could, and look, again, I start off by saying be safe, look after yourself and your loved ones, and again, thank you very much. Thiga is who I work for. I'm a product management consultant. If you want to talk to us about product management and design, and you'd like a consultant, come and talk to me after. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mandar. That was an incredible talk. There was so much breadth, so much depth. I really love all the info that you shared. So I'm gonna moderate the Q&A. So please comment on YouTube, and I'll pick up some of the questions. But first of all, which is I think a challenge that a lot of PMs have. What you described as sort of where product is today, with feature teams, and where we really want to move in the future or tomorrow with empowered product teams. What can product managers do to accelerate that process and to get us to tomorrow faster?
Yeah, really define, understand at the highest level what matters to your company, what matters to your business. Really get down into the the revenue and cost. Start looking at commercials. That's what matters. It's not just features. It's not just things that we ship. What it is that you do today and what impact did it make. If you can define those clearly, then you will do everything you possibly can to achieve it. It's and goals like metrics are easier to communicate, easier to rally around. They're easier to celebrate as well, right? It's the goalposts are kind of set, and everyone does everything they can to achieve them. So really, it's about understanding what it is you need, what you've defined to grow, whether it's the number of customers. You have to understand what game you play. You have to understand where your North Star is, whether it's engagement or attention or transaction, but really define that and do everything you can to set achievable targets and communicate those targets. Rally everybody in and around your organization to help you out as product managers. Communication is key.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. And so next question is, you talk about the rise of the CPO, the Chief Product Officer. And I've actually had a couple of conversations about this over the last year or so. You're right, the role is, there's more companies having or hiring for that role. But there also seems to be the idea of a CPTO, a Chief Product and Technology Officer. Sometimes you see, CPOs and CTOs sitting at executive levels. Sometimes just one or the other. Do you think that the CPO will ultimately replace other positions in like at executive level, or will it be yet another role that that companies have to create?
Oh, that's. I mean, is it? You could see that they've. I think it's fair to say they've got enough work on their plate as it is. As a CPO, you're required to be at the highest of your levels across all of those domains to manage people and to ensure that you're hitting targets. For the strategies you set up to the C-suite. To add a technical role to that at the highest of its peak is no sort of small feat, and not to be taken lightly as well. But those that with technical backgrounds, those who specifically come in and out of understanding engineering tech, and stayed relevant to the technology of today, can absolutely do that. I just don't see. I just see the role of CPO rising at a much higher rate, and having what's recognized as CTO and the skills of yesterday just continuing.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So now Jace from Brisbane is asking, what do you think best sells CEOs that don't yet have product and should have it? And I think you and I have probably both talked to a lot of organizations around Sydney that they don't have product yet, and that we can identify probably need it sooner or later. So what sells them in your experience?
So they don't have product teams, product functions, like product roles.
Yes, yeah, no product managers, or like at least nobody with a title.
Okay, yeah. I mean, really, in context, you'd have to see what roles they do have. You'd have to see what they have today enables them to achieve their objectives, and what their skills gaps are. If they've got developers, and they've got business analysts, and they've got project managers, for example, it's about assessing what they're trying to achieve. What are some of the pain points and flaws? But really, product management sells itself. If the company is okay and open to restructure itself to enable product managers to be successful. You can't simply put a product manager in an environment which doesn't enable them to do what they need to do. The role itself is awesome, but it goes to nothing in the wrong environment. So really, it starts with the organization understanding key product frameworks, strategies, methodologies, objectives, and then hiring for a purpose.
Yes. Okay. I've actually observed similar patterns.
Yeah.
Okay. So so the next question is, and I think you outlined a few tools in your presentation already that product managers might use, and there's a few products that are dedicated to product managers, PropPad, AHA, and a few others. What is the products and pieces of software that you use the most as a product manager?
I have a couple actually, and in different stages as well. So for prioritization, for really it's amazing use at understanding and interpreting and collecting the voice of customer, and relating that back into initiatives, objectives, and what you're trying to build. Is Product Board. It's a really good tool for gathering insights, for prioritization, for roadmaps, for planning. I love Full Story, which is another good tool. That's it's very important to get out of the building and talk to your customers, but more so than ever, especially in this time, having a tool that where you can understand, observe your customers both qualitatively and quantitatively is incredibly important. And this is a platform for design and product that allows that. Optimizely is a lifesaver. I talked about that throughout my talk as well. As experimentation grows, so will the success of Optimizely. Incredibly easy to use, set up. Program management is key, and really the support is nice there as well. I could go on. There's loads.
Yeah, awesome.
Amplitude.
Okay.
I have to call out Amplitude. Measures and metrics. You can't live without really solid tools that you can get down to the granular level of detail that allows us to do what we do.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so so then let's say you had to join an organization as a product manager. The question is, what are the signs of a good product company for a product manager to learn and grow?
I think a career framework. Really, I mean, if we're talking about product managers at the associate level, absolutely a path into what progress looks like, enabling, like you said, with the tools and platforms that allow them to put their practices and learnings into place. A good company will rally its objectives, its visions, its goals around product management best practices. So when we're talking about product-oriented organizations, and Thiga's written a book about that. If anyone wants it, reach out. But it really means putting product managers and product in the middle and enabling them to achieve outcomes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the questions I've asked myself at some stage is that there's very few organizations actually hiring for associate product managers, and in my experience, very few that actually have a career framework for this. Most of them seem to hire for just senior product manager roles. And what can you tell about a company based on that, whether they have even an APM program or whether they just try to hire senior PMs?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the maturity of the product of the organizations and its level of skills with the product managers it has. At some point, right, in its trajectory, in its growth of the company, you'll go from small to scale, and the product managers themselves will often come on, whether to a company with wearing multiple hats. As much as I'd like to say we focus on strategy the most, and about hitting outcomes, it really sometimes requires us to do delivery. It's when the organization grows and the product managers mature themselves, they understand what is it that they've set out to do, how obsessively they need to get to where they need to go, and how they need to stick to align with strategy in order to do that. Often that means delivery gets in the way. We're talking about doing everything. The first thing to go and the first thing to be handed over sometimes, or in the past to product owners, is the backlog, the delivery backlog, not the product backlog, if you have both, but the delivery backlog, the grooming, the sprint, the planning, the real kind of administration of that. And instead of now, like I said, instead of giving that to product ownership, it really should be associate product managers because of that path into the future and with the future of your company.
Okay, awesome. One of the things that you touched on in your presentation as well was that product management is going to get harder and harder to get into. At the same time, it feels like we've got a real shortage of people with the right skills, or at least companies find it hard to hire product managers. And I guess the question is, how can we grow more product managers, and what's the sort of education we can offer them to build more PMs to be ready for essentially where the future of product management is moving?
Yeah. So how can you? Yeah. Look. It is absolutely true. It is hard. It's going to be harder and harder to. It's not going to be harder to hire product managers. It's going to be harder to hire the right product manager. Yes, there are plenty of opportunities and jobs out there, but it is up to the individual. It really who you hire should be able to teach you something. Who you hire should really make a difference. Not only in the interview, but on day dot. Who you hire should really show responsibility, care for the company, its growth and its success, and have a real determination to learn. Honestly, even CPOs, there is nobody I know today that knows everything about all domains of product management. There is always something to learn. I read a Medium article on the bus to work. I read one on the way home, and I create a Trello board every time I learn something new. There's about 250 items on there. It's just
Wow.
It's exploded. Like, you have to show self-interest in the things that you don't know in order to grow. And it's those in the future that are going to be in conversation. Show the ability to interpret and communicate other areas that don't necessarily sit in the traditional model of product management. Will be the ones to watch out for.
Awesome. Okay. Now, very, very last question. I know Thiga has a book on product management, but if you had to, maybe from your list of 250 things, if you had to recommend a blog or a book, just one that you could recommend that maybe you're interested in right now, which one would you recommend?
I'm actually reading by Melissa Perry. I'm reading. I don't know. It's a long title. It's Avoiding the Build Trap. It's actually incredible. I'm only about halfway into it, but it really touches on some of the current problems of today. How do we get into how we all start off with the right intent, and how we quickly go down into this this like factory and build trap mindset, and how to stay away from that, really. It's we've all we've all experienced it if you've been lucky enough to do, but it's a really concise book that is fairly new, I believe. But blogs, plenty. I mean, there's so much material on Medium at the moment. I'm sure product management articles are trending, and lots of relevant, useful information.
Yeah. Alrighty, and hopefully, given everyone well, most people are staying at home and don't have to commute anymore, maybe we'll see even more of that. Yeah. Alrighty, thank you so much, Mandar. We've used a good chunk of an hour here for this, so thank you so much for all the that you shared. And
thank you.
Lucky, we're gonna have a recording, and we can watch it all over again. And
awesome. Thanks a lot.
I'd play it back on like 0.75 speed,
yeah, you should have seen the original version.
Well, thanks to YouTube and working remotely, this is one of the advantages we have now. It doesn't matter how fast you speak.
Exactly. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and
thank you so much,
listening. Mate. I really appreciate it.
See you soon. Alrighty, now we're gonna move to our next speaker, but before then, I should probably announce in the context of learning and advancing your skills. Minder Product usually runs which is the organization, by the way, behind ProductTank and all our global meetups. Minder Product usually runs a conference a couple of times a year, including in Singapore, which was scheduled for March, to help product managers share their skills, have some amazing speakers like Mandar and him. And of course, unfortunately, this year the conference was cancelled. But what the guys and gals have decided is really awesome. So they have a free online event for APAC, which you can register for on minderproduct.com/APAC digital event, or if you just go to minderproduct.com, I'm sure you'll find it. And there's some amazing speakers from around the world who are going to share their product knowledge, and it costs you absolutely nothing. So if you love these sort of events, and if you love learning, then that's another one to put on your list. Now we're going to move to Hem, who works at ARC, and who is going to share with us his product dashboard that he created recently. Now, right now, of course, things your current project at Qantas, things are probably not easy and changing regularly. But these kind of dashboards that you created, they really help us sort of have a focal point and make sure that we stay ahead of the changes as product managers. So over to you, and I'm looking forward to this next talk. And to everyone watching online, make sure you share your questions on the YouTube channel. Over to you, Hem.
Thank you, Ben. I hope it's now. All right. I'd like to start off by thanking Ben for offering me the opportunity to talk and share my learnings. And thank you, Mandar. That was an amazing talk, and also a great segue into what I'm going to share today. why and how should product leaders organize data and make the most out of it. So, good evening, everyone. I'm a product owner at our group. Our group is a digital consulting company that offers cloud, data, and application development services for major enterprises in Australia. And I'm here today to share my experience of building a product health dashboard for one of our iconic clients, Qantas. Now, if you've been following the news today, you might think that it's not the best time to be working with Qantas right now, but it's a fabulous company, guys. They have some really lovely people doing some amazing work in the digital space. With that out of the way, let's get started. Before we begin, I'd like all of us to think of a specific and think of how many external tools have we integrated with that product. It might be 2, 5, 10, or maybe even 15 tools. I'm going to talk about a product that was integrated with 10 different applications and tools. We had pretty much tools for everything. We had tools focusing on user behavior, technical performance monitoring, and even business reporting. I think that's not very unusual in organizations like these. And I'm sure as technology evolves, we will have more integrations, more data to look at, which makes product leaders think, is so much of data a dream or a nightmare for us? I'm going to share how our story unfolded. But before that, let me share a bit about myself. So I did my graduation in information technology in India, and I started working as a software developer for a product company called Amdocs. Later, I moved into the football industry as a consultant. I then did my MBA from SEEP Shanghai and London Business School, and that's where I decided to build a product of my own and met some really good friends with whom I started off this company called Vishery in the space of fashion aggregation. We ran this startup for about 5 years, and in the 4th year of operations, we got acquired by SK Telecom, and I moved to Australia, and that's when I joined our group. Since then, I've worked on 2 different client engagements with our group. I started off working with Citibank, and then most recently, I joined Qantas. I've been here for almost 2 years now. Now, apart from that, a couple of fun facts about me. For about 6 months while I was in the football industry, I was a FIFA player transfer agent, helping with the transfers of international players in India. And I also love going on long walks and camping, a recent interest that I developed after moving to Australia. Now let's get back to our original story. So 8 months ago, I joined this virtual assistance team at Qantas. Our team's objective is to identify opportunities for cost reduction and to improve the digital products in the area of customer servicing. Rightly, like Mandar pointed out, we were focusing on using AI solutions to make the life of user easier. In the last 2 years, we have built chatbots that have gone live on the airline's website and Facebook Messenger as well. About 1 year ago, we launched a chat service that went live in our mobile app too. And the team that I am in focuses on the performance of all these channels and also focuses on improving the quality of conversations that the users have with the bot. As we began our journey, as with any product team, we had a lot of questions. Without data, we started making a lot of assumptions. We came up with a lot of hypotheses, but again, to validate those, we needed data. And when we started off again, there was no easy way to get those answers or validate those hypotheses because data was scattered and was sitting in across all these different applications. Apart from that fact, there were a few more compounding problems for us. We had a lot of inconsistencies in data. For example, the number of conversations reported by the bot team was totally different from what the number was shared by the contact center team. And we had low confidence on the metrics itself. some stakeholders had low trust because of some historic mishandling of data and the context around the data. If you look at funnels, they were all pretty much broken. Our users typically move across platforms in their journey. And for example, they would start off their journey with the bot and ask for a handover and end up with the agent. We could not exactly see where the drop-offs were happening. And since we could not see that, we could not find ways to even improve that. And there was a lot of ambiguity in identifying real opportunities. We had like good insights into the problem area for when we were looking in the bot space. We could not have similar sort of visibility into other channels. So we could not connect the dots there either. And top of all these issues, we regularly got requests from our stakeholders to pull out data from different tools to create some reports for them, focusing on different sort of metrics, which simply eat away the time that you have. And whenever this sort of chaos happened, this is how each of us in the team felt like. This is typically the situation, sometimes when a stakeholder asked, what, are you sure this is the data? We kind of think about it and we're not so sure. So as time progressed, we started seeing some patterns and underlying reasons behind all these chaos. So what we realized is the first thing, we received 40% of our data from external teams, and that is why we could not stitch the data together and get the entire picture of the user journey. And there was no alignment of metric definitions. We all had our own interpretations of the metrics. For example, a bot handover in our team meant that how many users are asking for a handover from the bot to speak to an agent. Irrespective of they are put into a queue or they are speaking to an agent, we count them as a bot handover. Now, when we look at the contact center perspective, they would count a bot handover only when a user speaks to the agent. So there were clearly like different interpretations of the metrics. And also there was no consensus on the success metrics. And that is why our stakeholders kept coming back to us and kept asking us for ad hoc reports. And the reporting was also pretty much happening in silos. Reporting was quite efficient when we look at it at a team level. But since we were not combining all that data, we were not able to look at the situation in a holistic way. And so we were not able to spot all those issues or opportunities. By the end of this, we were pretty clear on what we needed. A unified dashboard that empowers the entire team with clear, dynamic, and consistent data to make better and faster product decisions. As an added bonus, the same dashboard could be used by our stakeholders or other teams for their own specific needs. For example, a business strategy team could keep a tab of the number of conversations happening within the bot by just going and opening up the dashboard and checking out themselves. To create this unified dashboard, we came up with a simple 3-step approach: align, co-design, implement, and iterate. Let's walk through these steps in more detail. Firstly, we needed to align. We began by identifying and contacting all the stakeholders that were involved with our product. This included head of departments, business owners, product owners, contact center team, and contact center managers, etc. Once we got hold of them, next we tried to map out the current state of operations for all these stakeholders. For example, for the contact center, what we did was we documented their call volumes, the number of contact centers that exist, the number of agents that exist, what are their skill sets, and what is the agent allocation process like. This foundation was necessary before we moved on to the next step, which is aligning on metrics and definition, where we listed down all the metrics that each team reports on, and we agreed on the nomenclature that we would be using going forward. Once we had aligned on the definitions, we set the vision for the dashboard, which means clearly mentioning who is the target audience for this and what the objectives are. And then we collaborated with stakeholders and agreed on what our product success metrics would be. And finally, we also set up a cadence for product analytics alignment. That way, we would routinely meet and exchange notes to stay aligned. And for example, we would just share information on what product releases happened recently, or if there has been any significant change in their area of operations. Finally, the third step is where you bring that vision to life. And this involves getting all our data consolidated and connected to the dashboard, using the right kind of visualizations, and sharing with our stakeholders, listening to their feedback, and iterating on the dashboard to improve it. And we also started extracting insights from the dashboard on a regular basis and started identifying opportunities to improve the dashboard, as it was not like static for a long time. We kept improving it. Here, steps 1 to 3 are more of a one-off task, but steps 4 and 5 need to be done on a regular basis. Now, I'm going to share with you how to do steps 1 to 3 using Google's Data Studio. Disclaimer, I'm not sponsored by Google in any way. I'm just a fan of their product. Google Data Studio is part of the Google marketing platform. It's typically used for dashboarding, visualization, and interactive reporting. This is actually a great tool available for free where you can get started with basic product analytics. So once you get into Data Studio, the first step is choosing from a list of pre-existing templates. And then you can customize the template to your needs. A few things to note here. You can create multiple pages within the dashboard. It's very similar to creating sheets within Google Sheets. You create a page specific for a purpose. And you could add charts and shapes based on your needs. And you can add several elements. You can add date ranges if you want to deep dive into a specific period of time. You could add URLs that can take the users to a different page on the dashboard, or even you can add external links. You can add images and text there. And you could also add filters to the data that you will be pulling into the dashboard. Finally, something that's worth mentioning is you can also create derived metrics, meaning if you have a metric A and a metric B, you can combine them to create a metric C and display it on your dashboard. With all these options, it's actually pretty straightforward. Data Studio gives you a lot of help as well. There are also a lot of tutorials on YouTube that you could use to get up to speed. Now let's look at how I use Data Studio to build our dashboard. As I showed you earlier, we had data sitting across all these different applications, and we started feeding data from all these applications into a single Google Sheet, which then powered our Data Studio. It is possible for all this extraction of data to be automated, but it requires technical assistance. Until that happens, I'm doing this manually because of the kind of value that I get out of this report. And just to let you know, you could also add standalone connectors between, let's say, Google Data Studio and Adobe Analytics, and automate and make the report really real time. The second step is to visualize data. A few key rules to keep in mind. You need to really know who you are building for and what is the story you want to convey to them. And I would actually classify the dashboards into 3 types: a strategic dashboard, an analytical dashboard, and operational dashboard. These are all quite different from each other. And I'll also give you a few examples as we go forward. And it's also important to pick the relevant key metrics. Don't dump all the metrics that you can catch hold of. It just adds a lot of noise. So that's something I highly recommend. And choose the right charts. There is a reason why all these different charts exist. Understand the difference and use them to your needs. And design iteratively. this is not a one-off exercise, so be prepared for a few rounds of revisions before you lock the dashboard. In our case, we realized the need for two kinds of dashboards. Firstly, a strategic dashboard for which our target was the senior executives who were interested in having a bird's eye view into the items of strategic importance. I'll again give you an example when I walk you through our dashboard. And the second dashboard was the analytical dashboard, which for which the target audience is the product team itself, which is keen on doing a deep dive into the funnels and user journeys. And the final step here is the sharing bit, where I'd say that sharing on Google Data Studio is very similar to sharing on any other Google tool. You can set specific privileges or make the entire dashboard public. Then you need to collect feedback from your stakeholders. One of the ways you could also do is creating a dedicated page on the dashboard itself so that anybody looking at it can leave a quick note for you. And once you have all the inputs, assess whether you want to change it, and if you want to go ahead and make those, create the new version. And as your product evolves, you'll definitely have more versions. So that's definitely going to be there. Now let me give you a glimpse of what we built for Qantas. Hope you can see. Yeah, thank you. So this is basically the dashboard that we built. Disclaimer again, all the data that you see here is all mocked up, so it has no information from Qantas here. However, the look and feel of the dashboard is very similar to what we have currently at Qantas. So starting off with a strategic dashboard, the first thing to note is that it's not a very detailed dashboard. It's very simple, and we do not have any sort of filtering or date selection options here because we did not. The target audience for this group are not interested in going into a day-to-day level or a week-by-week level. So for them, what matters is things like this digital channel adoption, which gives them an idea of how well the digital products are contributing to the cause of reducing the call center calls. So if they see this red line growing over time, that's what they want to see. And in the top row, what you see are the key metrics that is pulled across different teams. And they could also, with a glance, see how is the trend? Is it growing or is it dropped over time? And that's what is of interest primarily to them. And now let me give you a glimpse of the analytical dashboard. So over here, the first thing that is very useful for us is that day-to-day view. You could choose a specific period of time, and then all the data will be refreshed according to that. And in the top, we start with the same set of success metrics, but here it is focused on all the digital products, and and all this data is consolidated for a single view. As I move down, what you see here in the health and performance is a funnel that explains the journey of the user from the point they had an interaction with the bot till the time they had a chat with the agent. In this, if I look at this chart, what is of importance to me are the red bars, which highlight the handover failures. So if we see a lot of handover failures, we definitely want to investigate what's happening over there. As I scroll down, this panel is dedicated to the web channel, where the same set of cascaded down one level. And what you see here in the web chat interaction split is a similar sort of a funnel where we look at how many bot interactions started and how many were passed on to an agent and they were waiting to connect to an agent, and finally how many ended up chatting with the agent. And the final dashboard that you see, final panel that you see is for the mobile app, where again, the top level metrics are the same, similar sort of metrics that are cascaded down one level. And you could also see what are the categories that are trending when it comes to analyzing the transcripts. For example, in January, we can see that a lot of users have had chats about change bookings, and what is the, we could see how this trend changes over time. Final panel that we have is everything to do with the bot. If I focus on the bot that is live on our Facebook, we can see that search flights and manage booking are the top categories, following messaging a person. So that's how we have organized the dashboard for the product teams. Now, the other things that I'd like to highlight on this dashboard are the links that we have added here. The first one is a metric definitions one, which let's assume that you are a new user to the dashboard and you're not familiar with the terms that are used here. For example, contain bot interactions. What does it mean? You can hit up this link and it would open up a sheet which captures all this information around what it means, which team owns this data, and how frequently is it updated, and where do they store this data as well. And the other page that we have linked to is the Insights Archive, where we record information on the influencers. So what you can see in the top portion highlighted in red, where the factors that negatively influenced our metrics or the performance. And similarly, the items highlighted in green are the events, like maybe a product release that probably had a positive impact onto our performance and metrics. Now, let's get back to our presentation. If any of you are keen on trying this out, I can provide you with a mock dashboard, link to a mock Google Sheet as well. Just hit me up on LinkedIn and we can connect. Having built this dashboard, you might ask, how did this add value to our team? We started looking beyond numbers and we started talking in terms of stories. And we right now have more time to focus on extracting insights, identifying patterns and trends. And because we speak the same language around data throughout the business now, there's an increased amount of trust in data. And everyone in the team now has a view into our performance, designers, developers, product owners. So all of us bring ideas for improving the quality of our product. In case we notice a spike or a dip in the dashboard, it immediately triggers an alarm in the team. We can narrow down to the dates and identify what went wrong. And overall, setting this up has made our team move closer to the culture of experimentation, which is a big shift in our ways of working. In terms of key takeaways, I would really assess whether your team is in a good position to leverage all the data to your advantage. And it's highly critical that everyone in the business speaks the same language. So understand your business and align the metrics across the board. If you simplify reporting for your team, you are basically bringing everybody onto the journey. And you'll come up with some really amazing solutions for problems that you think you cannot even solve. And this is highly recommended. Choose your visualizations carefully, because that is what will build the story for you. And don't just build and forget about your product. Keep an eye on the big influences that can impact your product's performance. The more you invest in the dashboard, the more returns will be for your product. So definitely do a routine inspection for improvements to your dashboard. Finally, I'd like to conclude by saying for all product managers, product analytics is a low-hanging fruit. It just took me a weekend to put a draft dashboard together. But over time, it has evolved into something that has improved the way we work across teams and the way we make decisions. I hope this case study shows you that it's not rocket science at all. It's something very easy that you can probably act on today. And trust me, your team will really thank you for it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hem, for sharing and for offering your time to help the community understand this better. So everyone on the stream, same deal. Just put your questions in the comments, and we'll pick them up and answer them. And I'll start with one. So I know that Atlassian and a few other companies have similar product dashboards, and it sounds like it was an incredible journey to across all the different stakeholders and teams to even agree what the metrics are that are going to go into this and how you might be able to make this happen. And so just like anything in product management, it sounds like there must have been a little bit of a prioritization effort to say, okay, this goes in, this doesn't. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of the metrics were that ultimately you considered, but you didn't end up putting into the dashboard, and why?
Sure. Okay. As we looked into what really matters for our product, I didn't actually share exactly what metrics are there on the dashboard, but you would notice that customer satisfaction and the number of bot handovers are really critical for our product. We aim to keep the satisfaction at a high level, at the same time reduce the bot handover to agent as much as possible. But there is also the other side of teams which are keen on different metrics. For example, there are teams that are keen on knowing how many frequent flyers had a chat with the bot and how was their experience around it. And thinking about it, we are still at a nascent stage. We are just it's very early stage that we are testing out a lot of things with the bot. At this point, it may not be important for us to look at what is the experience for a gold frequent flyer versus a platinum frequent flyer. It's key to generally look at everyone's experience and how we can improve it. So that's something we parked as we went ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And so the other thing I absolutely loved about the dashboard was that you kept track of the things that actually affected the metrics, right? And so often in all the analytics tools, we just see, well, here's a graph and here's how your metrics developed over time, but the why is missing, right? And so I wonder what are some of the events and decisions that you had to make along the way where the metrics dashboard or the metrics as such were actually not helping, where you had to, you have the dashboard, but it reached its limitations in some ways. What were some of the situations there?
Sure. I think the first thing that hit me was that this product dashboard is not going to solve all your problems. You need to, again, set that vision and be clear about what you're getting out of this. It is a really good reference point for all the teams to, again, when you sit in like that cadence meeting, when you're going through the numbers together, it's always there. You can have a trend to look into, and it's more around sharing of that context and capturing of that, but it can really not help you with some sort of experimentation instantly and capturing of that sort of detail. So that's a limitation when it comes to building a data studio dashboard. That's not what you are building it for, and that's something you won't get out of it as well. But as you said, the context is really important, and that's one of the reasons why there are teams which are hesitant to share just the data straight away. They know that there is a lot of operations that go behind data, and they would like to ideally share that information as well. And that's where we thought about, let's put in the context there. If somebody notices a huge dip or a huge spike, like we know that there is a lot of disruptions happening, especially in the travel industry. How do we capture that context for somebody who might join the team 6 months down the line? They know exactly what happened 6 months ago. So that was the sole reason for us to include the context. But again, yeah, it doesn't, like, there are a lot of limitations in terms of what this dashboard can do or cannot do.
All right. Well, it's a lot better than what some organizations have, which is almost nothing. So so we've got a question here from Whitman, which is about how do you get your team up to speed on being able to create these dashboards in Google, and I guess, you know, what's sort of the learning curve that you experienced?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, it really was a weekend's effort. And Google that way is amazing because they do have a lot of tutorials that can really get you started. They come off with some initial templates that are available for you to tap and just get started. It's all about having some mock data, which you might even get hold of real data from your organization, feed it into a Google Sheet, connect your data, and then plug it into the dashboard. I would say, yeah, I would. In terms of onboarding the team, there is a bit of learning curve needed. Like when you were thinking of automating the dashboard, if you want to connect data studio straight away into your live databases, that will require some bit of learning around that. But then again, there are a lot of tutorials and a lot of help available, even from Google, if you want, that can help you onboard onto this tool.
Okay. So that's an awesome starting point. Now we've got another question in the same direction, which is from sort of planning it to prototyping it and then building the dashboard. What was the time frame that you spent? And I guess in the context of this question in particular, have you tried something similar in Power BI or other tools?
Yes, absolutely. To answer the first question on the split of time, so just building the dashboard was a couple of days to get a draft up and running, very simple. But the majority of effort went into the initial bit of align and co-design. Align itself, to gain that trust with other teams, to get them onboarded onto this idea, took about I would say anywhere between 60 to 70% of the time. And then co-designing, once we did the align part really well, co-designing was pretty smooth. So I would say about 20% over there. And then the final bit for iterations and implementing it. So that would be another 20, so 60, 20, 20. But thinking about Power BI, yes, that was one of the initial suggestions as well. But to be honest, like, I found that to be more difficult than getting something up and running with Data Studio. So it was more of a POC for me. So I was going really low tech, and what can I get out something? What can I get out quickly? What can I show and kind of get that feedback? But once people saw the Data Studio dashboard, they also kind of stuck to it. They were very comfortable using the Data Studio. So so far, it's been a happy journey.
That's awesome. All righty. I think that's it for the questions from the audience for now. But I want to ask you as well, in the context of this event, to make a prediction about the future of product management. What are some of the things? What is something that you reckon will stay the same, or and something that will change over the next few years in product management?
Sure. Coming from the AI side of things, I definitely think that there's going to be more data, and we as product managers will be investing a lot into analyzing and making sense out of it. That's going to be taking a lot of time. It may not even be going out of the streets and speaking to people, because when you speak to them, they would say that, yeah, I probably like to chat with the bot, maybe I'll ask it this way or that way. But in reality, when they are put in a situation, they respond to it very differently. So I would say anybody who's looking to get into the AI space, definitely it will be really helpful. Or if you can prepare yourself, learn about get an introduction into how AI data works, how you can analyze loads and loads of transcripts, that will set you apart, and that will lead you to real problems which you can solve.
Awesome. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Ham. Really appreciate you taking the time and sharing all of this. We're going to wrap the talk and the Q&A up. Thank you so much. And that basically concludes our event. Now, one last announcement. Obviously, these are extreme times, and I think a lot of organizations have gone through quite big change recently. I've seen some organizations in the grocery space, in the video and remote working space, and in education technology that suddenly had a lot of demand, a lot more than anticipated, and they're struggling to scale right now. And then there are other organizations which where the business has essentially completely disappeared within days. So if any of you either need help or have gaps to fill, please get in touch and let the community help you out, or let me help you out. Of course, you can get in touch with the whole ProductTank Sydney community in the meetup group, and there's a message board that you can use. But if I can help anyone with anything as well, please get in touch and email me every time, and let's get through these crazy times together. Thank you so much for joining, everybody, and I look forward to the next remote event. We'll iterate on this a little bit, so let us know your feedback and how we can make these better, and then we'll take it from there, and we'll be back in probably late April to run another one of these remote events. So thank you so much, and have a great evening. Bye.